Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Winning Balance podcast. Today, we are met with Jeff Gardner, one of the founders, one of the owners of Bucked Up. Awesome to have you out here.
Yeah, be careful. You say bucked up with a B. Sometimes people get that a little confused.
Yeah, that'd be a bad messed up.
Autocorrect does that quite a bit
really?
too. Yeah, we're like, no, I did not mean that.
Yeah, you're not yelling at people.
Now it's getting a little more familiar with what we're saying.
100%. Yeah, good. Definitely a household name. So I love it. Well, Jeff, I'll dive right into the bio, and then I'd love to dive into your story. A little bit how I got introduced to Jeff. My really good family friends, the Shepherds, shout out the Shepherds, introduced me to Jeff. They are one of my favorite families on this planet, and they said good things about you as a family man, and I already know the business side of what you've done with Bucked Up, so I'm excited to learn from you, brother.
We spent a lot of time with the Shepherds on the soccer fields because our daughters played together and now they play at BYU and different things. So, but we know the Shepherds, and they're a really cool family.
They are one of the most athletic families.
That's why I did this.
Look at that. Yeah, appreciate them for sure. So let's dive into that bio. Jeff Gardner is the co-founder of Bucked Up, a powerhouse brand he launched in 2016 alongside his twin brother, Ryan. Jeff and Ryan, still the day-to-day operators, have crafted and executed a dynamic strategy to elevate Bucked Up from a promising startup to a global leader in the fitness and supplement industry. With a street smarts in marketing and branding being the foundation of Bucked Up's rapid rise, Jeff helped start the ambassador program for Bucked Up using micro-influencers back in 2016 and quickly got Bucked Up ahead of the competition. His innovative approach helped turn ambassadors into influential advocates, fueling viral growth and making Bucked Up a household name online and everywhere else. Today, Jeff oversees the company's international and apparel divisions, continuing to drive exponential growth. Bucked Up has now surpassed $300 million in annual sales, with apparel alone accounting for over $8 million yearly. Jeff's relentless focus on world-class branding, disruptive marketing strategies, and global expansion has helped shape Bucked Up into one of the most recognized and respected brands in the industry, with a proven track record of building teams, being ahead of the competition, and creating unstoppable momentum. Jeff Gardner stands at the forefront of Bucked Up's mission to change lives, motivate the masses, and build a brand without limits. Thanks for coming on, Jeff.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Something I'd love to add to that bio too, Jeff, is when I see these celebrities in Utah that I'm like, how the heck are these people in Utah? It's always been you guys.
When Conor McGregor hit the BYU basketball game, that was probably the epic moment where people were like, now who's doing this? And it was a little questionable about whether Conor matched our brand or not, but he's definitely, is the type that is a great fit because he's a little more aggressive. And he just brings the eyeballs, man. Everywhere that go, he is full of energy, that's what we're all about. And, man, he's crazy, but he's good.
That is so cool. Yeah. And the most recent one with Bryson, like this is, I had recently joined Riverside, and see on my story, I had been out of town, like, of course, this weekend or this week. And I saw him there. I'm like, what is happening? Of course, when I leave, and then of course, turns back. It's you guys.
You missed it though, huh?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think it was open. I think it was private too, right? So I mean,
people were still playing. They just blocked off the 18th hole. We landed our helicopters right on the 18th hole. He hit over the top of them, and he bombed it like 400 yards. He was like 10 feet from the green on that long par
on
5.
The 18th?
Yeah, on the 18th. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He's unbelievable, man. That guy can hit the ball so hard.
Gosh.
Then we took him out to the sand dunes. The salt flats. We took him out to the salt flats, and he was bombing them out there. But we like to show our people that we do bring into town a little bit about what Utah's about.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to show him something that he wouldn't normally do with anybody else. So we have some helicopters, so we like to fly people around and show them a good time and have them experience what Utah is that sometimes a lot of people in Utah haven't seen.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like those experiences are like once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, I think that goes a long way too. Just like little guys like me seeing you put Utah on the map. It's, even though it has nothing to do with me, it feels some sense of like appreciate, like, for sure. So
yeah, we are having fun bringing these big influencers in. We never have done that before, but it's really good for our brand right now.
I love it. Well, cool, Jeff. So usually what we do here at the Winning Balance, I love hearing about your story, the come up. I always like to rewind to where your career, you felt like that started. For me, when I was single, I don't feel like I was in a career. I was surviving. I could live off PB&J. And then when I got married, a sense of my career definitely started. And then obviously when I had my kid 7-8 months ago, it really took a new route. It does. Right?
Different phases of life, man. That's,
of course,
we've been there, and it's fun, just the different phases that you go through. But you got to be willing to adapt, and sometimes you're worried about this next phase that you're in. But if you stick true to your values and the family, that's what's always going to be constant.
Yeah, I love that. So where did the story of Jeff's career really start, and whether that had to do with Bucked Up? Maybe we can fast forward a little bit to where the beginning of that started. But where did your career start? Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Yeah,
I think we grew up on a farm, but we kind of knew what we didn't want to do when we grew up. That was hard work. But my dad was pretty tough dad. I mean, you may not have grown up with this, but back in the day, your parents could beat the snot out of you and put you in place.
Yeah.
My dad was so mean that he'd spank the neighbor kids, and their dads wouldn't dare do anything about it, because my dad was a tough son of a bee. He was really tough. And so he was tough on all of us, but really taught us a lot about work. But right after that, when we were about 8, a guy, my dad's farming partner, kind of took him for a ride, and ended up, my dad was out of a job. Like, basically their business fell apart because he got ripped off, and his farming partner took all the money and stuff like that. But then my mom actually had to go to work because my dad was out of work. Every time he'd start something new, somebody would come and try to get their money that was owing. And so my mom started to work, and she worked at this little jewelry place. But then eventually my dad got involved, and they took it over. So that's when I think we first saw what it's like to own your own business, right? And we were working. I've been working since I was 13, and I was making great money. The average back then was $2.18 an hour, and I was probably making $10 to $12 an hour as a 13-year-old.
And what were you doing at that time?
We did piece rate. They pay us by how many things that we did. And at the time, we were putting earrings on a little card, and then we'd put the back on, and then they would pay us 2.5 cents per pair. And Ryan and I are just competitive suckers. So we would just race each other, and we kept getting faster and faster and faster. And then we got moved to another job that it was like for clip-on earrings. And you had to be very accurate, but you could do about 40 at a time. And we got up to about $20 an hour. And my dad said, "No, we're paying you too much." And we said, "Okay, go find somebody else to do it." And he would get the other ladies in the warehouse to come do it. And they made about $5 an hour. And then theirs wasn't as accurate on how they had to stick this sticker on. So, we were competitive, and we worked hard. When we were there, we tried to go as fast and as hard and as long as we could. And so, but we saw that entrepreneurial part from my dad and mom starting this business. And we kind of always knew, through those years that when my dad wasn't working, we were on Deseret. I don't know if you know what that is. Mm-hmm. It's like being on welfare.
Yeah.
And we just realized we never wanted to be in that position again. We wanted the lap of luxury, and we started putting up visualizations like posters in our room. And what's great about my dad, even though he was a farmer, he was always one to teach us how to give positive, affirmations. He would make us say, before we went on our missions, he'd make us put something on our mirror and it says, I am enthusiastic and successful.
Really?
And we said it 7 times every day. And it's funny coming from a farmer that he would know anything about positive affirmations, right? But growing up, Ryan and I worked so much together because there was 2 of us. My dad could get a lot done because he was kind of a hoarder. And my whole farm and whole warehouse and everything down where we had this jewelry business was just stacked with crazy stuff, man. He would just collect. And Ryan and I would work together to lift things and to move things and to chain things up and move things around. And, Ryan didn't always like that. He would always tell my dad, why don't we just move it here for its final spot? And he kind of butt heads with my dad. And I was just like, all right, it all pays the same. Just do what he asked.
He's the older brother,
but
right?
that was good. Yeah. He's 5 minutes older, but he used that against me my whole life. Right. But it's a good balance to have. Ryan's a little more aggressive and I'm a little more conservative. And those 2 things kind of helped with Bucked Up and every other business that we did. But we had a lot of opportunities to work together. And so when Ryan and I got off our missions, working together wasn't even an option. I mean, we just always have been together. The only time we've been apart is our missions. And one year he went to St. George, but he came back and we started the company. We were doing lead generation back in the day. But, we always knew that running a business of our own, it comes with perks, but it also comes with a lot of other things like hard work, working long hours. But we're not afraid of hard work. When we were doing leads and talking to people all over the world, and the internet doesn't sleep. If they hit us up at 3 a.m. in the morning, we're on talking to them and figuring out how to get campaigns rolling and how to get leads coming in. So, we really have done well all through our life, even from making way more than our friends when I was 13. We always had money, and we paid for all of our own stuff. Before we had money working for my parents, we were selling corn around in the neighborhoods for $1 a dozen. And we had 50 chickens. We would sell eggs and corn. And that's how we'd pay for our school clothes. So but since 13, we've always had money, and it seemed like we've always had more than the average, right? But we worked hard and we were just so competitive. We'd just go for it. And so, we were starting to, I guess the real, something that we really have always been really good at is being ahead of the curve. We see where the ball's going to be going, like the hockey puck gets hit, we know where it's going to end up, but we've always been ahead of people. So when lead generation started coming along, we were about 3 years ahead before anybody else figured out how to do it. And we were making really good money. We'd sell leads for like $25 a lead, and we could get them for $20. So we'd make $5. But we could do 1,000 a day. So we were making $5,000 a day. This is back in 1999 and 2000. And then, we've helped some other companies around the valley, and we'd always have people coming to us and offering us to help grow their businesses. And we did. We helped them and we told them how to make their websites better so we can convert. Eventually we got kind of sick of that because we were growing all these other people's companies and they didn't run it like we did. And one thing, like I think we were taught well growing up is just to be logical, like street smart. We didn't go, like we went to UVU, but that was just to find girls, like to find a wife, right? And it worked. So, but, we just went there to, I love general studies, but we weren't going there. We already knew we were going to own our own business, but I went for business management.
Same.
But I already knew a lot about business just from being in it.
Doing it,
from 13. So I think we just always had the mindset to get a business going.
Do you feel like it was risky at this point? Like, especially when you're starting to become more serious about getting married, even kids, did it ever feel like, or because you've had success from a young age, like it was just like, this is my plan, let's get it?
I mean, positive affirmations. And then the other thing is just we work until we figure it out. We're not afraid to just grind.
I love it.
And that's kind of what's been, and there's two of us. So we keep each other accountable too, you know? So I really think, you know, positive affirmations and working hard, and we just don't have a fear of loss.
That's so cool.
And we've always thought of abundance. We've always had money, so we've always thought abundance, but we were also kind of frugal. So we didn't go out and spend money. We would grow, and other people that figured out how to do leads shortly after us, they would go spend their money on every kind of thing. And then all of a sudden their values would kind of change, and they'd go start off the deep end, and then their family lives were a wreck. But we always have been raised to have these values. You know, it's kind of like with Bucked Up when we first came out with it. So the story behind that is we actually were sick of running everybody else's companies. So we said, we're going to do our own. And we ended up doing a couple of products that really did well. And then Deer Antler Spray was our first product in the Bucked Up realm. And we didn't know what it was. We just read an article in Sports Illustrated that said Deer Antler Spray is banned in all professional sports and in the NCAA because they felt like it gave a competitor an unfair advantage to recover. They'd spray it under their tongue and their body would recover in half the time. And they couldn't test for it. So they're like, hey, this is why WADA, is like a regulatory body, said we can't, because we can't test for it. But you can't have some people take it and some people not. So they just banned it. And it was just banned for the NFL and NCAA, but guess what? Everybody else could take it.
Yeah.
And so we went and we looked up at GoDaddy, deerantlerspray.com, and it was available for $7. And we're like, man, this is like a home run. We'd paid $25,000 for a domain in the past just for the name.
Jeez.
So getting this for $7, we thought, hey man, this is a home run. So we built this website, we got the product, sourced it out of Florida, and then hardly any sales came in. And we were like, what? Nobody's reading this article. And so nobody was looking for it. But about 5-6 months later, when we thought, hey, I don't know if we're going to be able to sell this stuff before it runs out, Ray Lewis, right at the Super Bowl, gets accused for recovering from a tricep tear. A reporter shows receipts at Media Week for the Super Bowl and says, I have receipts right here that show that you took Deer Antler Spray, and that's banned in the NFL. And he couldn't have done it better because he raised his hands and says, I don't know. I bought it, but I didn't take it. And not one person believed that. So, yeah. But, you know, every 5 minutes to our website, another 100 people would come on.
Oh my.
And another 50 to 100 sales would happen. And we were selling this bottle of Deer Antler Spray that we make for around $5. We were selling it for $39. And we said, we're going to run out. We marked it up to $39 or $59. And then we marked it to $79 and $99. And so we sold every bottle that day for $99 and we ran out. So we sold about 2,600 bottles in one day. And so, you know, shortly after, GNC called us and said, hey, we're getting so many requests. How fast can you get us 30,000 bottles? And so we called up our guy. He said, I thought I'd be hearing from you. How many do you want? And we said, we need 50 because 30 would be the fill in. And then after they sell, we'd get more. And we realized there that, you know, we were making lots of sales every week through GNC. But not everybody was interested in recovery. And the big thing that was coming along was pre-workout, which we had no idea about. And we went to a GNC conference and we saw everybody selling pre-workouts.
Wait, so pre-workout wasn't as big then?
No.
Or you guys just weren't?
Pre-workout, I had never even taken.
Really?
I mean, I had heard of Explode, and I tried that once and I thought I was allergic because I was itching my face and it had niacin in it and
sweating and
I thought I was allergic and I actually left the gym. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, who wants some of this, right? So, but now that I know, I probably would have done things a little different. But, you know, we went around at these GNC conferences and we saw pre-workouts. Everybody's starting to sell those, but they all tasted terrible. Mm-hmm. And a guy that worked at GNC, his name was Jose Reyes, and he said, hey, I'll help you guys come up with one because we told him we wanted to come out with a bigger line. And he kind of knew the formulation. So we brought him on as kind of helping us with the formulator. He was our formulator, and we put the full clinical dose. And this kind of goes to a lot of things in life. If you make a good quality or if you have a good quality product, people will come. Mm-hmm. If you're selling just a cheap product and trying to sell it, another cheap product's going to come along. But when we first launched Bucked Up, we were the most expensive pre-workout on the market. And we were selling ours for $49.95 inside of GNC. And at the time, there was like C4 and others at $29.95. And they're like, there's no way you're going to sell it. And we said, well, we know a few things that they didn't. GNC would make bigger margins. And we put the full clinical dose and showed it on the side. Other people were putting proprietary blends. So we were full disclosure on that. So we went from in 2016 launching. And by 2017, we were the number one pre-workout in all of GNC.
That's insane.
So then all the shops, all the little mom and pop shops bought it. All the vitamin shops, bigger chains bought it. And we soon were number one pre-workout around. And it just tasted better.
Yeah,
and it worked 10 times better because we put the most amount you could. And sometimes these other people who are selling cheaper couldn't go back up. You can never go back up.
Yeah,
You got
too
so
deep.
We've demanded the market and it's done really well and everyone makes money. That's really what we want as a quality product. And then we want everybody who works with Bucked Up to win. Again, we're in abundance. We want everyone to win. And we know there's enough around that everybody can. It's funny, like one of my friends started, he's like one of my best friends that I hang out with the most. He started another supplement company at the same time I did. But I was trying to teach them what we were doing because I knew, look, if they don't take Bucked Up, they're going to take something else. Yeah. Why not have them take theirs? And so, you know, I'm always for helping. We're full disclosure. We don't worry about other people knowing what we do. Although we work hard enough to get ahead of the curve. It's like, I think right now we're launching Buck. He's our little AI fitness companion. And he tells everybody like what to eat, how to eat, what supplements to take, and everything like a MyFitnessPal, like
That's
what calories, you know, on your macros. But, you know, we're going to be the first ones to do that. And now we put Buck at all the GNCs, a little QR code, and they can ask it any questions like, what's the difference between yours and other people's? And even what's the difference between Woke AF and Mother Bucker? You know, we have lots of fun names, but my parents didn't really like the name at first. You know, they thought it was too close. But we're like, hey, we're edgy, but we're just not going to ever cross the line.
Yeah. And
you know, as you make money and stuff, sometimes that's difficult. Is not letting that get to your head and then just losing track of your values and what's most important, like family.
100%. That's a great transition there too, because as you have grown into the world name that you are today, like are there any certain practices that you've done to keep your values strong? Because it's easier said than done, right? Especially when you're making the money you are. And
yeah, I think we just were raised proper, but we had a good foundation of values with our church, and we're just really strong in our beliefs, and we don't let anybody kind of sway us. We are the ones that set it. We don't go into a group of friends and let them help us make decisions on what we're doing and not doing. We already know ourselves. And my dad sometimes was a little too confident, but he taught us that confidence to believe in ourselves and know what we stand for. And so, I hang out with a lot of people who drink and do different things as well, but that's their journey, but that's not mine. And it's been tough at times. I mean, you want to enjoy and have fun with them, but you can still have fun without that stuff. And, because what I do know is there are sometimes people do things and it creates a lot of drama in their lives. I just want to be happy.
Yeah. Amen.
And I met a girl. We've been married now 29 years. So as old as you are, we get married young here in Utah, but she was 18, but we have a great marriage. And then my job is to not screw it up, and some of those things that you can get involved with could definitely do that.
For sure.
It could definitely screw it up. And I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I like it how it is.
Well, it's funny because I was doing my research, prepping for the podcast, and went on your Instagram, and it looks like you and your wife are still in the dating phase. Like it's clear as day how much you guys love each other after 29 years. I just think that's the coolest thing ever.
We get that a lot because we're still like all over each other.
I love it.
Guys, my wife's pretty smart. She figured out guys really need 3 things. What do you think those are?
Attention. Does one start with an S?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
sex.
Yeah. Dr. Laura wrote a book, and it was called Proper Care and Feeding of a Husband. Kind of sounds like terrible. Mm-hmm. But guys are such simple creatures. We need food. We need sex. And then just tell us every once in a while we're the man, and or acknowledge some of our accomplishments, like you doing real estate, right? Yeah. Saying, man, you're doing such a great job. You're awesome. Like you've done really well and provided for our family. We just need stuff like that. If we get those three things met, we will do anything for our spouse. Mm. We will give them the world. If they want to go spend money because we're getting our needs fulfilled. And then they're getting their needs fulfilled. And if we ever get out of balance, my wife has a key word. She says, honey, we're a little out of balance. And that means it's always me. Get in check. And she puts me in check. And, I realize what that means. And that is to focus more on the family. And we've had those talks. And I always say, hey, I'm going to be able to be with my family for eternity. I'll spend more time with them later. But, being an entrepreneur is awesome because you can take the time out of your schedule. Yeah. You make your own decision. I might be working way later that night because sometimes I'll go to soccer. We talked a little bit about that is these soccer events. Sometimes they're a weekend. Sometimes they take all day. Mm-hmm. But then I can come back and work and they see me working hard. I'm not afraid of that, but I have to get work done. But family is always the priority.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the fact that your wife is intuitive enough to call that out and have that conversation with you, I think is great. She's awesome. I mean, we have a really good marriage. Some people see it too. And they are like, hey, what do we need to do? And things like that. But we just fit, our personalities fit pretty good together. And really it comes down to me being teachable, I agree. As long as you're being willing to be teachable and humble and then being willing to change. Yeah. Never get into the groove of teaching an old dog new tricks. You got to be able to change. And it goes to the adaptability that you talked about at the very beginning in business. It's same with marriage. That's something that I'm bashing my head in, learning every single day. The pride always gets in the way.
And it's tough. I mean, when you have little kids and you get sleepless nights, there's frustrations and stuff, but you can do it. You can work through it. And I don't know how bad. I mean, I do in the first of our marriage, the first couple of years was kind of tough because we were just trying to figure each other out. Mm-hmm. But right now, I mean, you realize how happy you can be in a marriage that if it wasn't happy, that's when you go stir crazy and say like, I can't do this because I know how good it can be. Mm. So it's kind of like a mindset, like a perspective that marriage can be really good. Really, really good.
I love that. That's a good lesson in there too. Well, Jeff, you talked a lot about your journey, and to me, from the outside looking in, it's looking like it's win after win after win. An entrepreneur, I know like there's
losses,
dips, right? There's losses, there's dips. I've had them. I've had some scary ones where, and I didn't have kids at the time. I'd love your insight when that roller coaster is on the way down. Like, what do you do to still show up as a husband, to still show up as a father? And again, none of us are perfect, but as you've learned in your years of entrepreneurship, what have you learned in that realm?
Man, there were some times, there was 4 of us, we were making about, we were doing about 20 million in revenue. So we were probably making about 4 or 5 million in profit. And we had one guy we drove traffic for that he ended up not paying us, and we were giving him so much volume that we lost $2.1 million. And that was a tough pill to swallow. And we could have bankrupted the company and just started a new one and things like that, but that just wasn't how we were raised. So we worked hard to try to pay everybody back from that. And that was a tough one. Some people negotiated on the costs and things, and I think we went out of pocket about 1.7 million, but that was a big hit, and it took us a little bit to climb out of it. But the family was always there. They're the constant, and that's really some of the times that you have to rely on them, even though you don't feel like treating them the best because you're frustrated and things. But man, you can't do it without a good wife and some family to help build you up. Like we would have sales in the beginning of Bucked Up, and Ryan's family one year filled all the orders for Black Friday. And then I filled the orders the next year with my family and people. And we said, I'm like, Ryan, are you sure we're gathering money for all these orders? Because it was amazing how many orders came in. There's 1,000 orders, we're like, that's crazy. But when we do a Black Friday sale, we also had Black Friday sales after those first 2 years where we had to invite our extended family to help us. So we're one of 8 siblings. We're one of 8 kids. And we invited all our brothers and sisters and their kids to come help us fill orders. We'll do, like on a Black Friday last year, we did 110,000 orders in 5 days. So we have a lot more than just family helping us now. But the family helped us get through those beginning stages. And we were a family-owned business. My younger brother, Daniel, works for us. He's over all of the wholesale and probably does some of the most volume for our company. And he sells to all the GNCs and the little mom and pop shops. We have my sister who runs, I don't know if you ever seen our retail little shops and that have all of our apparel, all of the supplements there, but she runs all of the shops for us. But I would attest that to we think logically because we were raised with this guy that was just so logical. And my mom was pretty smart. And so, it really, as a family, we work together and we've always stuck it out, and our family is really close. And even my cousins, I think of a lot of families, but we're close to all of our cousins, and there's 63 cousins.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's a big family.
So you got all the help you could need.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, what's your advice for people that maybe don't have as close of a family that you had this great example, and maybe they didn't have that perfect example growing up, and they want to be that restart for their family? Like, what advice would you have for those people?
I don't believe in a fear of loss. They've got to be willing to take their chances, especially being young, like for instance, you. Take your chances, believe in yourself, and it will come. I believe in that. There's plenty to go around. You just find your little niche, work hard, and work smart. Right now we have AI. It can help you work really smart. You just need to know how to ask it the right questions. But a kid came up to me the other day and said, "Hey, I do a landscape business up in Washington. What advice would you give me?" And I said, I would use ChatGPT, and I would use it to help me tell him what you're doing now, and ask him to ask you 10 questions on about your business so it can get to know you, and then ask it for a 5-year game plan, and it'll spit it all the way out.
That's insane.
But work smart.
Yeah.
Because, on the farm, we worked hard. I would rather work smart than hard, but we work smart and work hard.
That's a deadly combo.
But you got to be willing to put the time in.
Yeah.
And, don't stop. Just don't stop until you figure it out.
I think I've talked about this with a lot of my buddies too, is just like in today's day and age, there's so much quick hits. Your attention span is with TikTok, Reels, etc. Like, to me, I think it's easier today to be successful than it ever has been if you put in the work. With all the resources around us, it's absolutely insane, right? So,
people want instant satisfaction and instant results, and sometimes that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
and sometimes you get fortunate, but we always believe the harder you work, the luckier you get.
100%.
And we've just truly been blessed to get bucked up to where it is. There's probably like 5 or 6 things that had to line up just perfectly. And not knowing anything about this business, it was amazing how we have been blessed to be in the right spots at the right time. Everything, we bought a name. We saw somebody selling a product called LFG. Let's freaking go, and he was selling a supplement, and we said, "Can we buy that from you?" And he goes, "It's not for sale." We're like, "Well, but how much are you doing?" And we said, "We'll buy all of your inventory and give you $5,000. He goes, No, but I will take 10. And so we wrote him a check right then. When we got LFG, that day we went and approached GNC and said, "We have LFG. How much do you want?" And they gave us a PO for $4 million.
Are you serious?
And then in 2021, we brought our manufacturer on, and he went from, he bought 20% of the company. He came in and invested, so we were able to take some money off. And we just were looking for a strategic partner, and our manufacturer was always really good for us. He told us when COVID happened, all the factories switched to making masks versus making creatine. Weird, right? But then he said, "Guys, there's only 90,000 bottles available left. I mean, equivalent of that much powder." And we said, "Well, we want it all." And he says, "Well, there's one other caveat. You have to prepay for all of it." And we said, "All right, we'll do it," because we've never been in debt with the business, and we have money in the account. And so we bought all the materials to do that. Well,
does that have an expiration on it too?
Yeah, like 2 years. Like it can go for 2 years. But the day we got it in, 6 weeks later, with our label on it, Bucked Up Creatine, everybody was out of creatine because they just mowed through it in 6 weeks. And so we went out to GNC and said, "How many bottles do you want?" And they said, "We want all 90,000 bottles." And we said, "Well, you can't have it." we'll sell you 40,000. And then we contacted Vitamin Shop and said, we'll sell you 20,000. So we sold 60,000 bottles of creatine in one day for a high price because nobody had it. We made $1.4 million in one day.
Oh my.
So then
talking about where the hockey puck is going.
Yeah. And then everybody was out, right? So we went to Amazon with our 30,000 bottles remaining, and we were nowhere to be seen at this time, but we put our product on and we were the only person in stock. Everybody ran out and we climbed the ranks and we were sitting number one and selling $500 bottles a day at full retail price. So we kind of crushed it during that time. Yeah. And then, COVID helped us because we transitioned from working with GNC. These are some of the other like low parts, but GNC owed us $2 million. And then they declared bankruptcy on us. And we said, we're never going to sell to these people again. So what we had to do is figure out how to transition, and we transitioned to more online and doing our own ads and doing different things like that. And it paid off because we started to grow. And, all the franchisees for GNC were like, we got to have Bucked Up. It was our number one product and we weren't selling to them. And so they put a lot of pressure on them. And within a year, they were begging us over and over. And we said, nope, you're not getting it. And in 2019, 21, we went back to working with them. Might have been 22 because we stuck it out for a year.
Yeah.
But in 22, we basically said, we'll sell to you, but you got to prepay us. And we were one of the first people they've ever done that to. And we said, we got to prepay. And then we marked up everything $1 or $2, and we got all of our money back for the amount they took out on us. But it's just continuing to try to grind and get through it when you have losses. Losses are going to happen, but you got to just be willing to work through them. They do set you back a little bit, and they kind of make you sick to your stomach at times. But you got to keep pressing forward, and then all of a sudden you'll find ways to get it back. Like we did with GNC.
Just adding their little,
added a little margin, man. But they've crushed it with us, and they're doing really good, and we're doing good. So we like them now.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's been a fun ride, and it just continues to grow. So.
And what I love about that is how many times other people would have called it quits. Like, you're owed $2 million. You're in the last one in the leads company, lost to 1.7. Like, how many other people would have just called it quits? And it's a good lesson.
We don't have it in us to quit. You get knocked down. I mean, maybe it's from getting kicked off all these horses and then my dad making us get back on. I don't know, but
quite literally,
we've been bucked off horses left and right, but it was a good way to be raised. And it's funny that we came from farming to running this cool business, but Bucked Up's fun, it's in the fitness industry. Sure. Everybody likes it. And, we're kind of like networkers. We like to hook people up a lot, and Bucked Up is something that everybody likes, so that we feel happy giving them discounts and giving them some product and things. It's nice to be able to hook up and share and do that.
Yeah. Even the samples you brought, that means a lot. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, a question that I like to ask too is it's a super cliche saying of, I wouldn't be here without my wife. Right. Yeah. And as the longer I've been in entrepreneurship, it just gets reiterated over and over of the long hours. If your wife isn't on board, if you can't have stability at home, it's going to be a long, long route. I would love to hear your perspective on that and maybe dive a little bit deeper into the role your wife has played through all this.
Man, we've had some crazy things happen. I mean, just in business and frustrations, and sometimes there's ups and downs like anything.
For sure, 100%.
But looking back, she's just been somebody I could always count on, and she would go through all the hard stuff with me. We looked up our horoscopes the other day, like a couple of years ago, and it said the best matchups are our two horoscopes. And I'm like, man, how did I get so lucky? But they say on your mission, the harder you work, the prettier your wife, or something, the better your wife. I must have worked really hard on my mission to get her. But no, we really have just learned to be teachable and grow together. And we understand what each other needs. And as long as you understand that and fulfill those needs for each other, you're going to grow strong together and be able to, at the first it was money, I was so frugal. And even when we were making good money, I never had a car payment until like 5 years ago. And that's when my tax guy's like, just get a lease,
Exactly.
I never even had a car payment because I would just buy cars, and I had a little car dealership on the side, and we just keep buying and selling until we had cars paid for. So, my wife's always stood by me, and she's the one that's the number one that has my back.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great lesson. And,
if you've met my wife, you need to meet her, but everybody who meets my wife definitely knows she's the better half. And she's really mature and understanding of other people too. So she's a good counselor. Like, people ask her all the time for advice and different things, and she gives really good, sound advice.
You guys seem like definitely a power couple.
Well, she's the power behind it, but it's been a very good ride. And I'm telling you, there's nothing like your marriage when it's happy. There's nothing like being in a good marriage.
Of course.
Now, just don't screw it up.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to do.
I love it. Jeff, my next question for you. And I would love to have this one more focused on the kids. And I know you go to your kids' game, like that alone, I think is super important. But I'd love to dive deeper into that. What practices or habits do you use to make sure your kids feel seen and prioritized, even as Bucked Up continues to scale?
They like that their dad owns Bucked Up, right?
Yeah.
That's good. But they know I have a big company. We went from 4 or 5 of us starting it, and now we have almost 300 employees. And I'm like, how did we get this many? And I don't even know some of them, and they're all loyal, and they're such good employees. And, when we had somebody else come in and buy in, and it kind of changed a little bit of the atmosphere of work, because these guys are so worried about money and growing it and things like that they lose track of why we did it. So I didn't really like that part, but I think we're getting back to our roots now, and it's a lot better. But, when it comes to the family, I believe vacations, I like a boat. We just got a boat, because a boat just keeps you they can't get away.
Yeah, you're stuck.
Right? You're stuck on there. But I really like our boat. I've only had it for a couple of years, but it's been a lot of fun. I probably should have done this way earlier. But they don't, you go to Lake Powell, you don't even get cell phone reception. You just have to be together. When we take our girls on vacation, that's when we really get closer. And even in the beginning of my marriage, what really helped my wife and I was we actually went on vacation together without all the stresses, without all the things. And then you learn to love each other and get along better. So vacation, definitely make time for vacation. And then when we go on these vacations, we ask the girls, like for instance, we went to a soccer tournament in San Diego about 6 months ago. And then I was able to have one-on-one time with some of my daughters. When we go out to eat, some would be doing stuff, but some would come with me. And I'd say, hey, describe your perfect day. And they described, pretty much, we took a vacation in Brazil a couple, not last New Year's, but New Year's before. And they would describe almost everything about this vacation. So I decided to buy one of those beach houses down in Brazil. And so I'm closing on it this week, I think. So
really?
Yeah, well, hopefully it takes a long time down there, but yeah, because if it's their perfect day, what I want to do is have more perfect days with them. They would describe it and say, we were all together as a family. We had somebody cleaning for us. We had somebody cooking for us. And we also had a masseuse all day, every day.
That's
so it was
amazing.
Like $300 for the week, it was awesome. So, but I think vacations are very, very important for your family and for you and your wife. We go on a lot of vacations without our kids.
Yeah.
But we need that time. I work hard, but we also play hard. So it's just important. I think that's what really brought us close, is being able to do vacations. We were called the 90%ers at first because I was so frugal. I didn't want to spend money, but if somebody invited us to go to Lake Powell on their houseboat, there was a 90% chance of going. Because I just wanted to have that balance. Some people call me the 95%er now. I said, don't ask me if you don't plan on me coming, because go through the rest of your friends if you want. But when you ask me, I'm going to go. So I always took opportunity to do that.
I love that. And I think it's a good reminder for me too, because sometimes I feel like I'm a very futuristic thinker where nothing's ever enough. Like if I looked 5 years ago and saw where I am today, I'd never comprehend that. Right. But today I see 5 years ahead and these people that are, and I'm like, I need that. Always, like dissatisfied, I guess. Right.
You're exactly right. I used to say, if I had this much money in my bank, I would stop. Well, I hit that a long time ago, and it feels like I still don't have any money. You're going to still keep pushing.
Yeah.
The key is just to keep it prioritized. Make your wife a priority.
Yeah.
My kids know that she's the priority over them, because she is what holds me together. So, my kids know that I love their mother. So they're not going to override me because we are on the same page. Mm. And then my kids are super important, and they're all fantastic kids. And there's ups and downs with raising kids, when they get through that 14 to 18-year-olds, you kind of lose them for a little bit, but then you get them back, but you can't tell them much when they're 14. You should have already done some of that work to keep them, on the straight and narrow, but they just believe their friends. Friends all that matters in life,
That's funny.
So hopefully they find a good group of friends. That makes all the difference.
That's good advice there. I mean, it's funny hearing you that, because with how much my parents harped on that growing up, and
I have 4 girls, so I'm a girl dad, and I deal with all that. I only have 4 girls, and I'm way outnumbered. But now I got a son-in-law, got married to the 25-year-old a couple of years ago. And then I have my second one who plays at BYU. She's getting married in July.
There we go.
Next month. So
you're even more similar to the Shepherds than I thought.
Oh yeah. Now I have some testosterone to balance this out a little bit. It's been fun. These boys are great.
That's funny. Well, yeah, that's like hearing you say that. It's my reminder that today I have permission to go on these vacations, to spend this intentional time with my, because sometimes it's always like, no, I need to be in this build phase. I need to just double down. And I have done a lot of traveling, but there's always a sense of guilt attached to it. But
don't feel the guilt. You will never look back and say, I shouldn't have done that. I've even when you spend good money on vacations, like now I'm spending a lot more money when I go, but it's like, I'm never going to regret that. And a guy like you or a guy like me, we're going to continue to always make money. Mm-hmm. We will. We'll just figure out a way, right?
Yeah. For sure.
And you're never going to look back on those memories and wish that you didn't have that. And so travel was one thing that I justified spending money on. Like we went and spent a whole month down on Newport Beach with the fam when we were growing up.
That's amazing.
When my kids were young, They were, 10 and 9 and blah, blah, blah. But, we took a whole month, but I was on the internet. I could work from there and things like that. But I never regret spending the money on that and creating the memories that we created. Memories will last forever.
For sure.
Right. So, and family's the most important because they're the ones that are going to take care of you when I'm, not able to move around.
Exactly.
and they're, having a big family and things, it's always the best because they can come around, visit, and you can do stuff with them.
Yeah. And I like what you said too, in a sense, trapping your family with you in vacations. Because it's like, there's a lot of selfish wants for these trips too, right? But if I can use that experience, these memories to just bond closer with my family, it makes me more excited to do that in the future.
And we always say, if something doesn't happen while you're on vacation, like something weird, you won't remember it too well. So we always, we've been in Lake Powell storms. We've been in, all those kind of things. You don't really remember them unless you have something special happen.
Yeah.
But, we just try to create memories. And even for Christmas and things, we don't give them gifts anymore, really. Maybe just a couple. And then we take them on a trip. That's what we do for our Christmas.
Yeah, that's cool. Jeff, I feel like Utah County is niched in a way to where there's a lot of people that want this grind, this success, at the same time as wanting a family and prioritizing that, right? Like you look at Miami, it's all money. But I feel like Utah, especially Utah County, even on a narrow, it's very unique in a sense that they're super focused on both of those. What advice would you have for this audience that's trying to chase both?
I mean, Utah County is definitely in a bubble.
Right? Bubble of a bubble.
It's a bubble of a bubble where all of your neighbors and you see them all the time, at least every Sunday.
Yeah.
I think even in my neighborhood, there's only 3 homes that don't go to church.
Interesting.
I mean, that's unheard of, right?
Yeah.
But we all know each other and love each other. And, I think to answer your question, I mean, not just, you don't have to live in Utah County. You can create that space and prioritize work, but there's times, I mean, Ecclesiastic 3 says there's a time and a season. Mm-hmm. There's a time for this and a time for that. There's times when you're going to have to work hard, and hopefully you have an understanding wife that understands. And what was really cool is we would set goals at the beginning of every year. We'd have family home evening and to have a goal list of how much we wanted to make and what we're going to do with that money. So my wife and I have always been kind of on the same page with that, because we knew why I was working hard, so that we could go on a vacation, or so that we could have a nice car, or we could do different things. So setting goals as a family is definitely one. And then they understand why you're trying and what you're trying to accomplish, even if you don't spend money on other things, right? So I think setting goals is very important, and you do it as a family.
Yeah.
And, Utah County is great for business entrepreneurs. It really is like the Mecca. I have people who have moved away to Florida and San Diego. They come back and they just feel the energy of all these entrepreneurs.
It's insane.
And it is crazy down here, and we all believe that we can make it happen. And there's missionaries, we have returned missionaries in masses over here at BYU and UVU, and they're all gathered in the same place. You could start a sales floor overnight for any product.
It's insane.
And that's why a lot of these companies do well, is they have these people who can speak languages, and they have these sales guys that can go door to door in the summer and make over $100,000 and not have to work the rest of the year and go back to school. But we have lots of opportunity here. And so, you just have to look for those. I think if I was starting a sales force and door to door, I think I'd hire everybody from England and Australia, because everybody's going to listen to those
You want to
accents.
listen? Yeah.
They'll sell every lady on the doorsteps, but also it just creates a little bit of like, you pay close attention to what they're saying.
For sure.
But anyway, there's just lots of good opportunities here. And so if it's not here, you got to try to find it where the other Mecca is, of where that's happening.
It's funny that you say that, because I went to college. I was at UVU, business management, trying to get the paper and get out of there, right? Find my wife, which I did.
Yeah. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. That was the real diploma right there, is my wife.
Yeah.
So I brought her back to Seattle, where I thought I was going to plant my roots, and I thought I was going to live there forever. That's where I was born and raised. My family has this little business, a few generations into it. Thought I was going to work for them. And
what kind of business?
So they sell technology to school districts. So they're like a middleman. They sell HP, Lenovo to school districts.
Wow.
Yeah. So they've been doing it since the 80s. And that's what I thought was my plan. A good cush ride into the sunset. And I told myself I would never move to Provo and Orem ever again. I was used to this diversified, and not that I was there for all the diversity, but that was just what was normal to me. Like, people, you mind your own business in Seattle. It's like, you don't feel like eyes are on you. And that's what I was used to. And then Provo Orem felt like this, it's weird, right? Like,
they all know all of your business, right? Like,
exactly.
That's what I love about my neighborhood I've been in I moved 10 times in the first 10 years. And then I got to this neighborhood and I've stayed there ever since for about 17 years now.
That's amazing.
They don't care what we do.
See.
But people, they're a little more mature, and they're comfortable with themselves, and they're not trying to keep up with the neighbors. And you will get that in Orem and Provo and some of these areas for sure.
So and that's the thing. I was probably like the negative lens, right? But that's what I thought. So I told my wife, I'm never moving to Utah. Like, that was my interpretation of Utah. I'm happy in my home. And then my wife started hating Seattle because it's rainy and blah, blah, blah. And then this was during COVID. It started getting buco
gnarly.
crazy.
Yeah, it's gnarly up there.
I was like, I don't really want to raise a family here anymore. And so the wife won that battle, as it usually goes. So we moved to Utah. And at this time, my lens wasn't just find a wife and get out of there. It was, how can I set my family up? How can I build a career? And Utah all of a sudden became a Mecca for me. Like, I have absolutely loved Utah for the focus on family and the focus on business specifically. And it's been phenomenal.
It's a great place, isn't it?
Yeah.
It actually is great. And even though we're in this little bubble, I mean, I'd rather be in this bubble than outside the bubble.
For sure.
I know how rough up in Seattle it got. And I was living there for 2 years on my mission, and there's areas they don't even allow people to go into anymore.
It's insane.
All along the First Street and the fish market and everything. And they don't even allow missionaries or some people to go down there anymore. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
But that's why I want to go down to some like beach area, because sometimes in Utah it does in the winter because there's this snow and clouds and stuff. I would like to have a little place where I can go get some sun and some vitamin D. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Jeff, I appreciate you for jumping on a ton. Like, it's been great. I've learned a lot. I'm going to re-listen to this podcast and take some notes for sure. Cool. Is there any last advice that you would want to throw out to the audience?
I would just say, if you're looking at something to do to help you be successful in life and in business, I mean, AI is such the wave of the future. I would just say, learn how to become a prompt engineer, do some studying there, in computer science or whatever. I think that's the wave of the future. And if you want to be ahead, you get on it, and everybody's going to need some of those services. And if you can prompt it well enough, you'll be miles ahead.
That's great advice. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for jumping on, Jeff. Okay. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother.